Younger workers are losing trust in college degrees. This is coming at a point where over half of the adults over 25, they have a college degree. What comes along with all those degrees is a mountain of debt that is over $1.7 trillion. Instead of doing what their parents did, younger people are shifting their focus into the trades, what many people call blue-collar jobs. According to a recent survey, 50% of Gen Z plan to move into the trades. Gen Z is anyone who was born between 1997 and 2012, and the professions that they're looking at include being a welder, a plumber, a mechanic, and an electrician. We're going to see exactly how much pay can you expect in these type of jobs. This survey, it was given to over 2,000 people, and 77% of them said it was outdated to assume that a college degree is necessary for a successful career. This is in part due to how difficult it is to actually get a white-collar job that pays decently after college. What many people are finding is once they graduate university, they're getting a job that pays maybe $15, $20 an hour. Now that's not exactly the salary a person is envisioning when they're spending 4 to 5 years in college. Another thing is artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence will replace millions of jobs, and the first jobs being targeted are probably white collar, editor, copywriter, graphic designer. These are under threat. So it is thought of that blue-collar jobs are more protected. Now, they're not completely safe either. It's just going to take longer to replace them. The trades have also been offering higher salaries than they have in the past. And it's because people just are not as interested to get into the trades over the last couple of decades. Now, you can make good money in the private sector. If you're in HVAC, plumbing, electrician, you can even start your own business. But what about the public sector? Have you ever thought about government jobs? Gen Z really hasn't. Because if you look at what makes up the federal workforce, people under 30 in the government, they're almost non-existent. But the federal government has thousands of jobs dedicated to the trades, to blue-collar type work. Now, how much are they going to pay you? Well, let's jump on USAJobs.gov and take a look. First, let's look at a welder. This is for the Department of Army in Kentucky. The salary here is between $29 and $33 an hour at the WG-10 grade. This is in the 3703 job series, and there's over a dozen opportunities to be a welder in the government. The experience needed is performing repair, modify, or fabricate types of metal and operating heavy equipment. There is no education requirement. For expert welders, the pay can go over $38 an hour. Now you have to read the whole job announcement because in there you can find out if it's a seasonal job or is it really a full-time permanent job. You can also see if there's going to be opportunities for overtime because if you slap on overtime, a lot of these jobs can pay in excess of $80,000 a year. Now with WG type jobs, when we're looking at the federal wage system, there's usually 5 elements. There's something called a screen out element. So for each of these elements, you're graded 0 to 5 points. You need a minimum of 2 points in each element, so that would be a total of 10 points. If you don't meet the 10 points, you are screened out from consideration. All right, number 2 is a plumber, which is in the 4200 job series. This job is in DC at the JFK Theater. The salary is between $33 and $39 an hour. $39 an hour is about $81,000 a year. And that's nowhere near enough to live in or anywhere near Washington, D.C. D.C. is a crazy high cost living area. If you're trying to make it here, making $81,000 a year, you're probably going to be in a studio apartment about 45 minutes away. And on top of that, you might even be sharing it with somebody else. I'm really surprised that the government's not paying their plumbers more in this area. The qualifications for this job are the ability to measure, layout, and the knowledge of equipment assembly and repair. Okay, number 3 is a mechanic. This one's in Alaska at the Department of Interior. The salary is between $38 and $44 per hour. This is actually a lower graded position than the one that we just looked at in Washington, D.C., but it pays a lot more. And when you're looking at WG jobs, when you're looking at jobs in the federal wage system, the pay is a complete mystery because there's so many different pay charts. There's like over 100 of them. So even though you're in the same zip code as somebody on the GS pay band, your locality rate can be drastically different than the person next to you. So that's something that the government's actually trying to fix. If you're looking for jobs in the mechanic field, there's 3 main job series you want to focus in on: 4749, 5803, and 5801. The experience you need for this one is the knowledge of equipment assembly, installation, and repair, the ability to use and maintain tools and operate motor vehicles. All right, number 4 is electrician, which is in the 2805 job series. This job's in South Dakota at the Department of Health and Human Services. The salary is between $30 to $35 an hour. For this job, you actually need to have a license. You need a journeyman electrician license. So this is the first position that we looked at that a certification or a license was actually required. Another thing that struck me about this job is the qualifications section does not have the 5 elements. You're going to have to go to how you will be evaluated. That section. That's where you're going to find the 5 elements. This one says ability to use hand tools, knowledge of electrical equipment, and electrical troubleshooting. These elements, they really shouldn't be in this section. So this is like the HR specialist kind of messed up and put it into the wrong section. Most of these jobs are in the competitive service. That means after you start working a couple of years, you can transfer different agency completely if you want to. You can also transfer to the GS side. If you have the right experience, you just have to showcase that on your resume and you can apply. Now, let's take a look at how these salaries compare with national average salaries. So think about private sector salaries. Let's look at it. What we're doing here is we're comparing the average salary in the US for these trade professions, and we're looking at the job announcements we just saw today on USAJobs.gov. And if you look at it, the federal government looks pretty comparable when it comes to salary. On top of these salaries, you also have to go ahead and throw in the pension, the TSP, and health benefits. So I think if you're somebody who's interested in the trades, you have to at least consider what's the public sector doing? What opportunities are there in the federal government? And if you are considering getting a job in the federal government, you probably have a lot of questions about the hiring process, about your resume, about the benefits. If you're interested in that, I did a live stream recently, answered over a dozen questions. A lot of these questions, they could be on your mind. So go ahead and check out this video next. If you'd like to see more videos like this, please click like and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.